Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the high-stakes world of global sourcing to really master the hidden mechanics of international trade. If you've ever looked at an overseas price tag and thought, wow, that looks a little too good to be true, well, you are in exactly the right place. We are going to decode the complex rules that determine what you actually pay and, honestly, more importantly, what happens when things go completely wrong. Picture this for a second. You're buying some really critical parts from halfway across the globe. You've negotiated a fantastic price. The goods are on a ship, and then disaster strikes in the middle of the ocean. The entire cargo is lost. So the million-dollar question is, who's actually left crying over that lost cargo? Is it you, or is it the supplier? The answer isn't always obvious, and assuming the wrong answer can literally bankrupt a business.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll navigate the sourcing minefield. Then, we'll open up the rulebook. We'll contrast EXW versus DDP, clarify carrier responsibilities, and finally, uncover the TCO iceberg.
Let's jump into Part 1, the global sourcing minefield. When you step out of your domestic market and start buying internationally, the entire game changes. A quoted unit price is rarely the final cost you're actually going to pay. Sourcing across borders introduces these massive new variables, and they act like hidden landmines for any procurement director. You have to account for the currency you're paying in, which can swing in value before the bill is even due. You've got longer, way less predictable transit times, forcing you to hold more inventory. Plus, you have to navigate customs duties, completely different legal systems, and unpredictable geopolitical shocks that could reroute your entire supply chain overnight. That brings us to Section 2, the Incoterms rulebook. To handle all of that incredible risk, we rely on a very specific number, 11. There are exactly 11 recognized rules that settle the global tug-of-war over cost and liability. Just 11 terms dictating the flow of trillions of dollars in goods all over the planet. So what are they? Published by the International Chamber of Commerce, Incoterms act as an internationally recognized shorthand. Honestly, think of them like the prenup of global trade. They very clearly dictate who arranges the carriage, who bears the risk at every single stage of the journey, who pays for insurance, and who handles all those pesky customs formalities. But, and this is an absolutely crucial but, they do not transfer ownership of the goods, and they never, ever replace your actual commercial contract. They strictly govern the logistics and the risk. Moving on to Section 3, the extremes, EXW versus DDP. To really grasp this, let's look at the polar opposites. On one end, we have EXW, or X-Works. Under this rule, you, the buyer, handle the entire headache. The risk transfers to you the moment those goods are just sitting at the seller's factory door. You have to figure out how to load it, export it, ship it, and import it. But on the exact opposite end, we have DDP, or Delivered Duty Paid. Under DDP, the seller takes care of absolutely everything, right up to delivering the cleared goods straight to your facility. It's essentially maximum risk for the buyer versus maximum risk for the seller. Let's get into the messy middle in Section 4, who carries the cargo. These 11 rules are actually divided into two very specific transport groups based on transit mode. You have 7 rules that can be used for any mode of transport, air, rail, road, or sea, and then you have 4 rules strictly reserved for sea and inland waterway transport. Using a sea-only rule, like FOB, for an air freight shipment is an incredibly common and honestly very dangerous amateur mistake. Let's follow the physical journey under that FOB, or free on board rule, which is one of those sea-only terms. The exact moment the risk pendulum swings from the seller to the buyer is when the cargo is physically loaded onto the vessel at the port of departure. So, if the crate drops on the dock before it's on the ship, the seller pays. But if it drops on the deck of the ship, the buyer pays. It is literally that precise. But here's where it gets really tricky, especially with the C rules like CPT or carriage paid to. Under CPT, the seller is paying the freight costs to get the goods to the destination. But the buyer secretly takes on the risk the exact moment the box is handed to the very first carrier back in the origin country. So if the ship sinks, sure, the seller already paid for the ticket, but you, the buyer, are the one stuck bearing the risk of the lost cargo. This brings us to a crucial takeaway. If you're staring at an EXW quote, or just an incredibly low unit price, remember this. The cheaper-looking quote often leaves more cost and risk with the buyer. That low price tag, it's just a complete illusion if you are the one assuming all the liability and the freight costs. Which perfectly sets up Section 5, the total cost iceberg. Beneath the surface of a simple, clean, quoted price tag, your actual total cost is weighed down heavily by all these hidden logistical and risk factors. You have to pay for the freight and customs duties. You have to insure the cargo based on whatever Incoterm you agreed to. You have to pay for buffer inventory because international lead times are way longer and less reliable. You've got currency hedging. All of this adds up incredibly fast.
Let's look at a real-world scenario. Imagine a Thai electric vehicle maker deciding between two suppliers for a critical battery component. Supplier A's unit price is cheaper, 100 Thai baht, compared to supplier B's 110 baht. So on paper, supplier A wins, right? Well, actually, supplier B wins outright when we calculate the hidden costs governed by those trade terms. Supplier A's terms push 40 baht of hidden freight, duty, and inventory costs onto the buyer. Supplier B only adds 16 baht of hidden costs. This is a classic total cost of ownership reversal. It proves mathematically why paying a higher base price of 110 baht can actually result in a cheaper total cost of 126 baht once logistics, Incoterms, and risks are all factored in. Supplier A looks cheaper up front, but ended up costing 140 baht per unit. Understanding this math is quite literally the difference between running a successful global supply chain and a bankrupt one.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to ensure you never look at a global sourcing quote the exact same way again. Next time you see a quote-unquote cheap overseas price tag, ask yourself, what's hiding beneath the waterline? Do you truly know where the risk pendulum stops swinging? Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the hidden mechanics of international trade. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and for sure, always mind your Incoterms.